Now at 6, the chemical company accused of polluting our drinking water for decades is trying to ramp up its production of toxic chemicals.
Chemours has submitted an application to create more PFAS at its plant in Bladen County. WECT's Connor Smith looked through that application today. Connor, the company is saying it's trying to meet demand. But advocates for the environment are more than worried tonight, yeah?
Yeah, that's right, John. The main concern here is Chemours making more PFA. Now, that's a compound that's made using Gen X chemicals. Of course, Gen X and Chemours are the sources of this battle that our region has faced for nearly a decade now. A new battle at a familiar site. Chemours submitting a revised application to produce more PFAS at its Fayetteville Works Plant, the same place forever chemicals leaked into the Cape Fear River for years. Environmental advocates are not on board.
It's a ludicrous idea. It's a kind of insulting, actually.
I think this is a terrible idea, and I don't think they deserve it.
The company tells us they want to make more chemicals that help enable things like batteries, semiconductor chips, and defense systems. Chemours says protections are in place to decrease emissions, but Kemp Burdett at Cape Fear River Watch is worried more production would send more chemicals downstream.
The threat that this river, which is our drinking water supply, is going to get even more contaminated with PFAS is very real.
The application comes as the Environmental Protection Agency moves away from putting federal regulations on PFAS. The toxic chemicals are linked to a variety of health issues, including different types of cancer.
This is a clear victory for Chemours and nobody else.
Emily Donovan with Clean Cape Fear says the state should deny the application. Burdett says the company cares more about profits than the well-being of the thousands of people relying on the water.
I see no reasons why we should be rushing to approve an expansion. Absolutely none.
Now the state has the final say on what's produced and what could end up in your drinking water. Now, as the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality reviews that application, Chemours says there's no timeline in place to expand production. A company spokesperson said they were unavailable to speak with us on camera today. Connor Smith, WECT News.